Yeah. So I was saying, just like in a Gurukul system, the Acharya, he has hundreds and thousands of students sometimes, right? And it is not possible for him alone, right?
जी.
Although he will try his best. And it is not typically possible for him to kind of sit one on one with individuals, right? Understand, what is their need, what are they going through, right? And how he can help them further, like that. Or even try to take an understanding of, how much somebody has learned, or what is their progress, exactly what where you're stuck, etc. So these are all, things which are discovered literally uh, when you have a one-on-one conversation, or in a very small group. Just like even in olden days India, joint families, or maybe some joint families still exist today, right? So there may be a head of the family, and then there are many sub families within that entire family, right? Say for example, one person, he has like 4 or 5 sons or children, for example. Then those sons will have their own families also, their own wives, their own children, etc. So these are smaller units coming together to form a larger unit, like that, right? So the principle here is to take care of devotees, right? To take care of family members. So this is like a ISKCON bigger family, right? So Prabhupada is our Acharya, or he's basically our Shiksha Guru for the next 10,000 years. And there'll be so many devotees who will be connecting to ISKCON, who will be connecting to, even within ISKCON, or within the umbrella that Prabhupada has created. There are so many of Srila Prabhupada's disciples who are now initiating gurus, right? Just like His Holiness, my Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, he's taken the responsibility of building temples and distributing books, and he has some 15-20,000 disciples of his own, right? His Holiness Japataka Swami Maharaj, he's someone who's actually pioneered the system of Bhakti Vriksha. There's a system called Bhakti Vriksha also, which is again another way of devotee care and having smaller groups, etc., and learning scriptures. So he's also, having more than 60,000 disciples. Then there is His Holiness Radha Govind Swami Maharaj, who's famous for, studying and discussing Srimad Bhagavatam. Even his disciples are, expert in Srimad Bhagavatam, like that. And then there is His Holiness Loknath Swami Maharaj, who expert in Kirtan, for example. So he takes out Padyatras throughout India, and in every village he goes and performs Kirtan. Radhagovind Maharaj similarly goes every village to village, and does Bhagavad Katha there, like that. So there are several of these. I mean, these are just few from India, I would say. Similarly, there's His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj also, who's also pioneered, say for example, a devotee care system, or the counseling system as they call it, right? So it's like, Krishna is a powerhouse, and powerhouse से main electricity generate हो रहा है, and then there are these several power stations in local cities from where it's distributed, right? So all these Abshul Prabhupada, or even the other acharyas, and even his disciples who are now playing the role of gurus, etc., in the society, they're like, these power stations who are distributing this electric current to everyone, like that. So further, going further, still there are so many, like I just mentioned, there are so many thousands and thousands of disciples of them as well. So or even for that matter, in our class there are so many people right now. Just give me 1 second. Hello. Okay. So even in our class right now, there are some 14, 15 people. They come, some of them, they come on and off. Some are coming regularly, like that. So it's difficult to kind of, take care of everyone, like that. So we are trying to, divide it amongst ourselves, myself, Partha, Priyapriya, and someone else. so that we can kind of cater to smaller groups, maybe 3, 4 people, 5 people, 6 people, like that. And just a second. So so that we can take care. So this reading class is not just going to be a simple reading class, and this is going to be reading of Srila Prabhupada's small books, plus some training on how to practice Krishna consciousness practically in your day-to-day life. So this could include, how do you wear dhoti, how do you wear tilak, how do you chant, how to worship Krishna at home, or how to get engaged in various services, how to basically live a pure life. Ultimately, be in Sattva Guna, move towards Krishna slowly and steadily, and also how do you inspire others, just by your lifestyle. Or if you're not ready to speak to others, of course, if you're not at that level right now to kind of start preaching to others, or talking about Krishna. Preaching, yes, you can, but preaching doesn't just mean talking, it also means so it has two components. One is achar, and then there is prachar, right? So achar is your own personal practice, and prachar is how you kind of spread the message to others. Now, in spreading the message also, there are two things, right? One is you can be a very attractive preacher, or somebody who talks very nicely. So that's one aspect. And then there is other aspect is how do you behave, right? The achar. So if you behave nicely just by seeing you, right? Most of the devotees who join, who come to temple, who come to Krishna consciousness, they are either inspired by someone in the temple. Array, this person behaves so nicely. He's so humble, or he talks so nicely, like that. So they are either their behavior or the way they are talking, etc. That's something that attracts. But then, once we attract someone or inspire someone, then there has to be a regular maintenance in terms of training and education in Srila Prabhupada's books, and practical things as well. So this is what this class is about. It's not just going to be only reading Prabhupada's small books, but it is also a platform to actually discuss, what are some of the challenges, what are some of the things that you need help with, in terms of practicing Krishna consciousness better. So in a family, when we come together, right, there is typically there is emotional support, right? It's called Swargiya Ras, experience Swargiya Ras, which means that you basically enjoy the association of family members, and you feel pleasure because there is a lot of understanding and there is emotional support, right? That's a family. But in association of devotees, it's called Vaikuntha Ras. Vaikuntha Ras means not just that you get some emotional support, etc., or you're taken care of, you feel sheltered, but at the same time, we are actually not just providing material shelter. It's not that I'm providing some shelter, someone else is providing some shelter. It is actually we are trying to facilitate for you to have Krishna's shelter, right? Therefore, Vaikuntha Ras. And within that, what we do is we try to imitate the activities of residents of Vaikuntha. And what are the activities of residents of Vaikuntha or spiritual world? It is nothing but Katha, Ganam, Natyam, Gamanam, Api Vamshi Priya Sakhi, right? So discussing Krishna Katha, discussing about Krishna, right? How to even get others involved in Krishna consciousness, because you've received a matchless gift. Now, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asks, what is our duty? If you receive something, receive and give, like that. So that's what our business is essentially. So so our agenda is to actually experience this Vaikuntha Rasa through this small association of 2-3 devotees, 4-5 devotees. Later on, also if somebody gets added, right? And practice Krishna consciousness very, very seriously, so that we can really experience some taste in our chanting, reading, and coming together as devotees, right? And how do we behave when we come together, right? How do we behave in an exemplary way, etc. So that's what this session is about. So feel free to express yourself. Feel free to ask questions, like we discussed the other day, the 6 loving exchanges, right? So out of the 6 loving exchanges, offering prasad, accepting prasad, giving in charity and accepting charity is still easy, right? What is is actually
Great, yeah, it becomes very difficult to.
reveal your mind and confidence to others, or even ask questions like that, right? Even to express yourself and ask questions, which are, just like, some devotee, he may, when you'll meet, beginning, they may say, "Oh, Hare Krishna, how are you? What do you do? I do so and so job, etc., etc." Like basic questions, right? Then after some time, you may ask questions, ki, okay, you know, how to chant nicely, etc. And then you may reveal your mind after some time. Oh, actually, I'm not chanting nicely. I'm struggling with my chanting. What can I do? What are the tips that I wake up at this time, etc., etc. So from generic conversations, as there is more and more preeti, right? Shadviti preeti lakshanam, as in when there is more comfort in the group, or and you are able to express yourself nicely, right? We kind of reveal our real problems, right? Okay, I'm actually getting up at 9 o'clock, for example, in the morning, and I'm not able to chant nicely, and I sleep late because therefore I get up early, etc., etc. So these are some practical things which can be dealt with, and sometimes you may not be able to do it alone. You need help, you need guidance. So this is what this forum is all about, right? So feel free to share. You were saying something, Pooji. Yeah.
Actually, Prabhuji, yesterday, a few days back, we were having some discussion with some of our colleagues,
Uh-huh.
and some of the doubts came actually because these people, when they ask, actually, I have no answer to comment.
Hmm.
Question was like, one guy said, whatever written in Bhagavad-gītā as it is, or any Bhagavad-gītā book, how you know that it is truth? So then I said, for that I need to read Bhagavad-gītā, Bible, Quran, till the time it requires till 10 to 20 years, and at the end, I'm not sure whether it is a true or false, kind
Hmm.
of.
Hmm.
That kind of question. So that was one question.
Hmm.
Second question came was,
Yeah.
why
you, you want
when,
to, ah,
okay, sorry, yeah, please. Prabhuji, yeah.
so simple thing, right? Just like science. Okay, any science. So अभी हम results देख रहे science के in terms of gadgets, etc., right? When so somebody may say, oh, I don't know how electricity works. Electricity exist भी करता है क्या? Right? ये तो हमको स्कूल में पढ़ा रहे हैं. But किसको क्या पता वो वायर के अंदर क्या जा रहा है? Right?
उसका एक चूंकि इंजीनियरिंग साइंस है, देयर आर सर्टेन इंजीनियर्स, पीपल नो, इफ वी आस्क एन इंजीनियर देन ही विल टेल ओके यू डोंट नो बट आई नो, and this is truth. If you ask second engineer, he will also tell the same thing.
Perfect. So what is science? Science is you have a theory. Okay. एक theory है आपके पास also, then you theory मतलब sorry, you have a, I forgot what it says. In scientific term, what is it called? You have a theory name, or what is it called? Assumption name. What is that called? Apparatus, and then you have experiment, and then you have the result. Right? So what is the first thing?
Theology.
No, no, not theology. You have the shit. It's like on my tongue. It's not coming out. Okay, हम लोग स्कूल में साइंस एक्सपेरिमेंट्स करते थे तो हमारे पास था ना, we had the assumption, basically basic assumption. Sometimes it's called axiom. I'm not able to get the
Uh,
hmm. Shit. Anyways, so basically we have the theory, which or I mean, not practical theories. It's basically a word for the concept that the scientist is saying. ये principle है, right? So what is it called? I forgot. Anyways, so let's call it theory. So it has they have the theory. Then basis that theory, they have the experiment कि भाई ये ऐसा ऐसा perform करोगे तो आपको ये result मिलेगा, right? So once you follow that, you actually get the result. Now somebody may say, अरे इसको तो बहुत time लग जाएगा ये follow करने में. नहीं. As soon as you start practicing Krishna consciousness, you start experiencing the results also. Like I said, if I am there and I give you a gift, will you doubt, do I exist?
Sorry.
हाँ, अगर आपने मेरे को एक गिफ्ट दिया, मैंने चलो आप मेरे को देखा नहीं, आपने वो पोस्ट में गिफ्ट डाल दिया, ठीक है, विजय माधव दास, हियर सम गिफ्ट फॉर यू, एंड देन आई रिस्पॉन्ड टू दैट पोस्ट। मैं सामने से आपको एक अच्छा खासा लेटर लिखता हूँ कि थैंक यू हिमांडु प्रभु एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा, एंड हियर्स समथिंग इन रिटर्न टू शो माय अप्रिसिएशन फॉर यू, राइट? यू रिसीव, will you doubt that I exist?
No, I will not,
Why?
because I have received some confirmation.
Correct, right? आपको सामने से reciprocation मिला.
Right.
So similarly, when you start Krishna consciousness, immediately there is a reciprocation, right? It's not हवा में कि भाई कुछ नहीं है, right? Immediately there is a reciprocation. You understand कि हाँ, यहाँ से भी response आ रहा है. So that means somebody is there, right? And how do you know? So there is an entire science, step by step, like the other day I was talking about, step by step, stages are given of progress in Krishna consciousness. And you can literally open that book, figure out where you are standing.
Savanam, Kirtan, Dhyanam, something like that.
वो 9 process of devotional service है, ये stages है, आदव श्रद्धा तथा साधु संग भजन क्रिया अनर्थ निवृत्ति निष्ठा आसक्ति रुचि भाव and prem. These are 9 broad stages. Apart from these 9 broad stages, there are other symptoms also which are very detailed, where you can, even if you are, say for example in the stage of anartha nivritti or even before sadhu sang etc., उसमें भी बहुत लंबा चौड़ा कैटेगरीज है, उसके बीच में 2 स्टेजेस के बीच में बहुत सारी कैटेगरीज है, ठीक है? तो आपको वो पढ़ करके आपको इमीडिएटली समझ में आएगा वेयर डू यू स्टैंड, राइट? एंड मैं जो फॉलो कर रहा हूँ उसका रिजल्ट है कि नहीं है, क्या है, वो आपको समझ में आ जाएगा. सो देयर इज एन एंटायर प्रोसेस विच इज वेरी डिटेल्ड, एंड जस्ट लाइक साइंस में कि हाँ ये इंजीनियर ने किया हुआ है, आप अभी भी करोगे तो सेम रिजल्ट मिलेगा, यहाँ पे भी कृष्ण कॉन्शियसनेस, देयर आर thousands and thousands of people who practice Krishna consciousness who are getting the result. द सेम प्रोसेस. साइंस क्या है? आपने एक एक्सपेरिमेंट परफॉर्म किया, दोबारा किया, सेम रिजल्ट, तीसरी बार किया, सेम रिजल्ट, चौथी बार किया, सेम रिजल्ट. हाँ, हाइपोथेसिस, करेक्ट. इन साइंस यू हैव अ हाइपोथेसिस, राइट? हाइपोथेसिस मतलब मैं एक स्टेटमेंट मारूंगा, मेरा हाइपोथेसिस है, राइट? देन यू एक्चुअली परफॉर्म द एक्सपेरिमेंट,
True.
हाइपोथेसिस, एंड देन यू गेट द रिजल्ट कि भाई हाँ रिजल्ट सही आया कि नहीं आया. अगर सही आया, मेरा हाइपोथेसिस करेक्ट है. सही नहीं आया, मेरा हाइपोथेसिस गलत है. Correct? You have to get the same result multiple times. So there are so many devotees all across the globe, right, who are practicing this not just now, since thousands of years. They followed the process and they've got the results. We have descriptions of so many saints, right? Not just connected to our sampradaya, even to other sampradayas. They followed the process, they've got the result. The taste of the pudding is in eating. So you have your seniors, right, in terms of previous acharyas who've actually gone through the process, who've got the result, right? You have some other seniors who are at a very high level right now, right, who have practically seen all the stages that we might go through, and they're able to guide us, right? Similarly, a level down right now, we have spent a few years in Krishna consciousness, so we are able to tell you and guide you, okay, this is where you're stuck, this is the next step you can take, this is where you're stuck, this is what will come ahead as you move ahead, right? So just like Gurukul mein main wahi bata raha tha, Acharya knows end to end knowledge. He may train some 5-6 people who then become leaders who teach other students, because Acharya cannot sit with every single person, right? So he has trained some 10-20 people who will then teach the other lower class, and those lower class will teach even further lower classes because they've gone through the basics, etc., like that. So that's how the Gurukul system used to work. So similarly here also, since there are devotees who have already gone through, today also you perform the experiment, you get the same result. So therefore we know it is true. And knowledge like Bhagavad-gītā, for example, right, it is spiritual, it is transcendental, because there is no change. अभी साइंस में क्या होता है, मैंने एक हाइपोथेसिस निकाला, मैंने उसके ऊपर एक्सपेरिमेंट किया, मेरे को थोड़ा रिजल्ट मिला, राइट? थियरीज होते हैं. अभी जैसे पहले था कि लाइट ट्रेवल्स इन अ स्ट्रेट लाइन, वो देख के आप बोल दो कि हाँ सीधा ही आ रहा है, किरणें तो सीधी गिर रही है, करेक्ट. So that was belief of science till some time back. Then later on, somebody else came, discovered even further. No, actually, light travels in waves. Correct. So
जी प्रभु.
साइंस में चलता रहता है. साइंस में क्या होता है? One theory replaces the other theory. हरे कृष्ण सचिन प्रभु. बट यहाँ पे अगर आप भागवत गीता में देखोगे, Bhagavad Gita 5,000 years back was spoken. It was spoken some 20 million years ago to sun god, right? And it is available right now also. And the knowledge is the same. It has not changed, right? That is the quality of spiritual knowledge. ये science तो फिर भी change होता रहेगा because people are, it's limited to our intelligence. जिसने जो discover किया, फिर वो बताया, लोगों को समझ में आया, तो ठीक है. नहीं समझ में आया तो it's trash. If the hypothesis is proven, then fine. But then some more further discovery gets into the picture. फिर quantum theory आ गया, ये आ गया, वो आ गया, सब आ गया. Correct. So one theory replaces the other in material science. Even modern science is very limited like that. But spirituality, spiritual science, the same science was applicable 20 million years ago. The same science is applicable 5,000 years ago. The same science is applicable today. That is a proof of how it is real. And somebody questioning like that, कि अरे इसने किसको मालूम क्या सच है कि नहीं. Try and apply any principle from Bhagavad-gītā from the right source, right? And see your own life. Experiment करो, आपको रिजल्ट मिलेगा.
True.
आप दूर बैठ के देखो कि बोलोगे कि अरे मेरे को अमीबा देखना है, आपको सबसे पहले अमीबा का ज्ञान लेना पड़ेगा. भाई अमीबा दिखता कैसा है, राइट? पढ़ना पड़ेगा अमीबा के बाद, उसकी कैरेक्टरिस्टिक क्या है, तब आपको ले जाएंगे लैब में और बोलेंगे कि पीक थ्रू द माइक्रोस्कोप, राइट? देन यू विल बी एबल टू सी समथिंग एंड हाँ आइडेंटिफाई ये अमीबा है, मैंने पढ़ा है इसके बारे में. आप दूर बैठ के बोलोगे नहीं बताओ मेरे को अमीबा है, वरना तो अमीबा मेरे को दिखाओ अभी का अभी, अदरवाइज आई थिंक कि देयर इज नो अमीबा इन द वर्ल्ड.
True.
राइट. सो खाली फेंस पे बैठ करके ये सब बातें करना बहुत आसान है. आपको नॉलेज कुछ नहीं मिलने वाला है, राइट? इफ यू रियली वांट टू अंडरस्टैंड, देन श्योर come experiment. Nobody is saying you spend 20 years, read all the scriptures in the world and then come back. No, just spend 6 months, 3 months, right? Practice this process for 3 months, right? And see, you will start finding changes in your own self. Heart transformation is not possible if there is nothing spiritual, right?
True Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. So Sachin Prabhu, we were discussing before you came, why we are doing this class essentially, or why we are, having another small group of reading group. So of course, Sachin Prabhu, he was finding it difficult to come on Sundays, so Saturday is convenient. That's one thing also. But we were discussing how, apart from the general class of Bhagavad-gītā, we are also wanting to kind of have a smaller group where I can actually have one-on-one conversations with you all. You all can freely express whatever is in your mind, right? And, like that, we can understand, where we are, how, if you're stuck somewhere or if you need some help, etc. Anything that I can support or you all can support each other. So just, it's important to actually have, somebody as a guide. And it's also very, very important to have peers, friends as well, right? So just like in Chaitanya Leela, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself. So just like we have Srimad Bhagavatam, where there is Krishna Leela, there are Leela of different devotees like Prahlad, Dhruva, etc. There is another Chaitanya Leela. Chaitanya Leela is pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who came 500 years ago, right? So even in Chaitanya Leela, we see that how there are different devotees who come to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, surrender to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Like there was Raghunath Das Goswami, one of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. So he came and surrendered to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right, he is Krishna himself. He actually can cater to everyone. But what he did, he assigned him to one of his senior devotees, Swarup Damodar. And till today, Raghunath Das Goswami is called Swarupera Raghunath, which means he's Swarupa's Raghunath. Because Raghunath Das Goswami took care of him, protected him, gave him love, gave him shelter, engaged him in practical services, encouraged him, created like a family-like atmosphere for him, right? So this is what this is how we should also serve others, and that's why I mean in parampara, I'm trying to attempting. I'm not qualified, but I'm trying to attempt do this service for you all, right? And you in turn tomorrow can also do the same service for someone else. That's how the parampara continues. Okay, Prabhu, Sachin Prabhu, you can be back in 5 minutes. No problem. So yeah, so even peers are very, very important. Just like in a family, you have father, you also have your brothers, sisters, or friends, etc. Like that. So our goal is to actually create a stable practice of Krishna consciousness in our own lives, so that we mature in Krishna consciousness, uh, and then become exemplary for ourselves, for our family members, for others, like that. Okay, so I think enough of background talk. We can so any thoughts, Prabhu, till now, and then we can probably spend maybe half an hour's time and read one of the books.
Good efforts or direction. Reason being, a person who starts coming to even ISKCON doesn't know how to use even dhoti. Even I thought I will purchase something on New Year, but then the food day was stuck somewhere else. Then I said no, I don't have. Somehow I couldn't find time to purchase those things, and I was also sure I don't know how to wear dhoti and all.
Correct.
That and all. I tried a lot.
So next time I think you can come early. My place is not very far. You're invited whenever you want to do this. Come home. I will also teach you how to wear dhoti, and then you can start.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
It's not very difficult. Yeah. Okay, so let's start. And then I mean, we will go through, systematically go through some small books of Prabhupada. So Prabhupada, of course, he gives a lot of practical information and knowledge in Bhagavad-gītā. Sometimes some of the conversations are very, very interesting. So some of these small books of Prabhupada are actually, some of the recorded conversations of Srila Prabhupada, like Perfect Question, Perfect Answer is one of that. Some things are some excerpts from the lectures, etc. That's how these books are made. Some books Prabhupada himself kind of compiled, like Easy Journey to Other Planets, etc. So yeah, today we'll start off with a book called On the Way to Krishna. It's a very small book. Maybe just I think 5 sessions and we'll be through with the book. It's very small. Like that. But like that, we'll go through some small books of Srila Prabhupada and then get on to some bigger books also. So, yeah, you can see my screen, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji. It is visible.
Okay. So, okay, whenever Sachin Prabhu is back, should we wait for him? 2 minutes rukte hain. Once he's back, it'd be nice to start. Otherwise, फिर से repeat करना पड़ेगा. So till then, Prabhu, you have thoughts you can share?
I have actually queries. Very queries actually, Prabhuji. If you allow me, may I ask those queries?
Yes, Prabhu.
So the second query came, a beautiful query, because I was like, oh, good question. The person asked me, okay, why all these Bhagwans, means gods, means incarnated only in India, not in all gurus like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Haridas, Thakur, everybody is incarnated in India only. Why not in Uganda, third world country like Sri Lanka, and those places? They also deserve to follow these things. So they are only meant to be sisters, not gurus. That was one curiosity or question. Or Pakistan.
Yes. So previously, it's a very good question. Yes. So previously, the entire planet was called as Bharatvarsha. It was named after King Bharat Maharaj, right? Bharatvarsha. So the Lord incarnates in Bharatvarsha, right? And particularly in India, you can say for sure. Today's India also. But if you see Sri Lanka, the Lord Ramchandra went to Sri Lanka. There were Mahatmas like Vibhishan and others who were also in Sri Lanka, etc. And even other countries. It's not just limited to India as such, but in other countries as well. So why Krishna chose this place? Well, Krishna is independent, right? He can choose as he likes. And in fact, if you read Srimad Bhagavatam, right? So Krishna's grandson, I forgot his. Yeah. Krishna's great grandson, who established different temples and deities. Vibhishan ne, kya naam hai? Oh God, I forgot his name. Vajranabh, yes, Vajranabh. So, great grandson of Krishna, he established several temples, several old deities, even which some of the deities which are visible today, so Swayambhu deities, they are installed by Vajranabh, like that. So, we read in Srimad Bhagavatam how some of the descendants of Vajranabh went to Europe, became the rulers of those regions, etc. So, actually, Bhagavatam padhoge na, to aap wahan par sara description aata hai. It talks about Germans, talks about Mongolians, it talks about different categories of people also. Yeah. So even say for example, Gandhari, she was from Kandahar, Afghanistan, right? Kandahar, like that. So earlier it was known as Gandhar. So Gandhar se Kandahar aaya, Kandahar se Afghanistan, like that. So actually the whole world was in one sense a single unit some ages ago. Now it's divided into different countries. But yeah, the Lord primarily chose to incarnate in the Indian subcontinent region. Why? That's his choice. That's his choice, right? So cannot say why, but that's his choice. But in terms of saints, right? There are many saints who appeared everywhere. In fact, it is a saying that every island on the planet has some saint or the other. So it's not that there are saints only in India. Like Jesus Christ himself, he's actually a Vaishnava, he's actually a great saint, right? So he came to actually spread Krishna consciousness itself, but according to time, place, and circumstance, he gave it to people as much as they could accept it, as much as they could digest the knowledge, right? Therefore, he gave some very, very basics, called it Christianity. Similarly, Judaism, right? Buddhism, or Buddhism took care, it's a different story altogether. Or Muslim religion also, right? So, according to time, place, and circumstance, there are different devotees of the Lord who came to give limited understanding or full understanding or partial understanding as per the capacity of people to digest that knowledge. So, it's not that there are saints only in India. There are so many great saints even today. In different parts of the world. Does that answer your question, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Sachin Prabhu, are you back? Give a thumbs up if you're back. Or चलो ठीक है हम और कुछ क्वेश्चन तो पूछ सकते नहीं तो हम शुरू करते हैं अभी एक भी
दो ही क्वेश्चन था प्रभु
ठीक है. So on the way to Krishna was prepared from the transcript of lectures of Srila Prabhupada given in New York in the fall of 1966 on Bhagavad-gītā. So Srila Prabhupada के Bhagavad-gītā lectures में से निकाला है. The editor was Srila Prabhupada's disciple, Hayagrifa Prabhu, right? So let's start the first chapter. So how we will do this is, Prabhuji, you can start reading. एक paragraph read करेंगे या एक दो paragraph read करेंगे, उसके ऊपर से थोड़ा discussion करेंगे, and इस तरह से हम आज एक chapter complete करेंगे. एक chapter देखते कितना बड़ा है. हाँ, छोटा सा ही है. जी प्रभु जी, you can start reading.
Okay. Everyone of us is searching after happiness, but we do not know what real happiness is.
प्रभु जी, टाइटल भी पढ़िए, फिर स्टार्ट कीजिए.
So the title is Throughway to Happiness. Every one of us is searching after happiness, but we do not know what real happiness is. We search so much advertised about happiness. We see so much advertised about happiness, but practically speaking, we see so few happy people. This is because so few people know that the platform for real happiness is beyond temporary things. It is it is this real happiness that is described in the Bhagavad-gītā by Lord Krishna to Arjuna.
एक सेकेंड ना. So अभी आप ये पहला ही statement if you see of Srila Prabhupada, he's saying we see so much advertisement about happiness, or we are advertised too much about happiness, right? So actually, if you see the ad world, right, what they're selling is not the product. They're trying to sell the idea of happiness, isn't it?
True, Prabhu.
हाँ? अभी आप कोई सीमेंट का एड, ये कोई गाड़ी का एड देख रहे हो, राइट? गाड़ी के साथ में से 4 लड़कियां खड़ी रहेंगी. They're selling, trying to sell the idea. If you have a nice car, you'll have these nice women also, right? They're trying to sell the idea of happiness, right? Whatever material idea we have about happiness, they're trying to sell that ad world में, right? Even I think I saw one ad of Binani cement that was so absurd, right? So उसमें क्या था? I think वो डाइवर्स होता है ना, डाइवर्स कॉस्ट्यूम पहन करके वन फीमेल इज कमिंग आउट ऑफ द ओशन विद बिनानी सीमेंट का बैग. अभी वहां पे ओशन के नीचे क्या बिनानी सीमेंट का फैक्ट्री लगाया वो लोग ने और उनके वर्कर ऐसे दिखते हैं? नहीं, दे आर ट्राइंग टू सेल द आइडिया ऑफ happiness and all of that, right? Even Cadbury, for example, right? There'll be billboard, burst of happiness in your mouth. So that's what they kind of try to advertise. If you eat one, piece of Cadbury, it's like a burst, and chocolate is oozing out of their ears, eyes, nose, etc., like that. So we are heavily advertised for things which we don't need. Okay, go on.
Happiness is generally perceived through our senses. A stone, for instance, has no sense and cannot perceive happiness and distress. Developed consciousness can perceive happiness and distress more intensity than undeveloped consciousness. Trees have consciousness, but it is not developed. Trees may stand for a long time in all kind of weather, but they have no way of perceiving miseries.
Miseries.
Miseries. If a human being were asked to stand like a tree for only 3 days or even less, he would not be able to tolerate it. The conclusion is that every living being feels happiness or distress according to the degree of development of his consciousness.
Right. So again, what do you think this is talking about, this paragraph which you just read?
Consciousness and happiness. Okay, so actually I am a human being, but I accept as it is how it has been written, because because what tree feels I really don't know. So this is how I typically accept, because I have no understanding or feeling of tree. But as it is, I consider that happiness is generally perceived through our senses. Like we talk about our 5 senses. If so, just one example, if I don't bother about my tongue, what I am going to taste, so then even if I am getting not very good food, I don't mind. It is all about what we expect from those senses actually.
Okay, Sachin Prabhu, any thoughts on this paragraph which you just read, if you're there? You can unmute and talk, Prabhu. You can say something instead of typing. It's just easier. Would love to hear your voice. A lot of background noise. Okay, you're somewhere outside? Okay. Okay, no problem. So happiness is generally perceived through our senses, and non-living things or even living entities like trees, etc., their consciousness is not developed. So the feeling of pain and pleasure is not that much, right? For us, our consciousness is developed. Even for animals, their consciousness is quite developed in terms of the pain and pleasure that they feel. But human consciousness is even further developed to understand things, to actually question why we are suffering, or to even make arrangements for things that for our comfort, etc. All of that, right? So if we are asked to stand like trees, we'll be miserable, right? Okay. So I'll continue reading the next para. And Sachin Prabhu, in case you get to a place where there is not a lot of background, you can also read later on some para. Okay. So I'll continue further. The happiness that we are experiencing in the material world is not real happiness. If one asks a tree, "Are you feeling happy?" The tree, if it could, might say, "Yes, I'm happy standing here all year. I'm enjoying the wind and snowfall very much," etc. This may be enjoyed by the tree, but for a human being, it's a very low standard of enjoyment. There are different kinds of grades of living entities, and their conceptions and perceptions of happiness are also of all different types and grades. Although one animal may see that another animal is being slaughtered, he will go right on chewing grass, for he has no knowledge to understand that he may be the next. He's thinking that he's happy, but at the next moment he may be slaughtered. Just like goats are, uh, they're standing in line to be slaughtered. They're still standing there happily eating grass, caring nothing, not understanding that they are, next in line to be slaughtered like that. And the point of, one may perceive happiness differently than the other because there are different grades of happiness. So Indra once was cursed to be a pig, and isn't that pig life, he was happy. He was thinking, when Brahmaji came to take him away, of course, he had to give up the pig body. So he was scared and he never wanted to give up the pig body. And like, no, no, please go away. I'm happy. Who will take care of my, my wife, my children, etc., etc. I'm enjoying here. I'm enjoying in the stool, like that. So depending on your consciousness, you perceive happiness in different things. Some people are extremely happy in smoking, drinking, some people enjoy stale food. Some people enjoy, not taking a bath for days and days together. That's where they find happiness. For someone else, it might be so disgusting and miserable, right? So,
But Prabhu, correct me, happiness has also something related to perception or the way we accept things. Like even the people who say ki drinking, smoking give happiness to them, not necessarily. Or this particular same situation, if the same situation is there, if a person is negatively means is taking those things negatively, what will happen? He will get distressed, demotivated. The same situation can be a motivation for someone else who consider it as an opportunity. So if
these
they then
are things.
that.
These are two different things, Imanu Prabhu, right?
Mhm.
Situation, considering the situation to be good or bad is a different thing versus doing something in want of happiness from something. Correct. So I've been put in a difficult situation. Someone may, be distressed, be morose, cry, ki, "Arey, why it happened to me," etc., etc. Right? Whereas someone else may find an opportunity in that situation, and he may be of the attitude कि no matter what, मेरे को मेरा काम करना है, ठीक है. अब जो मेरे को मेरा काम करना है, ये ऐसा उल्टा परिस्थिति है, इस परिस्थिति को मैं किस तरह से इस्तेमाल करके भी अपना काम कर लूं. कभी कभी तो इस परिस्थिति को इस्तेमाल करके मैं उससे अच्छा और ज्यादा अच्छा काम कर लूं, ऐसा भी होता है.
True,
सो
true, true.
दिस इज अ डिफरेंट थिंग versus me running after or standing in the queue. मतलब लोग मंदिर नहीं आएंगे, but they'll stand hours and hours in the queue for a liquor shop. Correct.
True,
Why?
true.
I am attracted to liquor. I find happiness in drinking liquor. So happiness is also divided in these three modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance. There is happiness in mode of goodness. Some people, they will rise early in the morning, they'll do their yoga, their meditation, they'll be very, very clean, and that gives a great sense of happiness. सुबह सुबह कोई 4 बजे उठ करके अपना सारा काम कर लिया, निपटा दिया. By 7 o'clock they feel in charge of the day, right? and it gives them great sense of happiness, right? So that is happiness in mode of goodness. Happiness in mode of passion may be कि यार मैं गधे की तरह काम कर रहा हूँ, रात के 12 बजे काम कर रहा हूँ, but I'm feeling a sense of pride or even happiness कि देख how hard working I am and मैंने ये करके दिखाया, right? So that is happiness in mode of passion. गधे की तरह काम करो and think oh, this is great, right? And expect the same. Like say for example, you are who's that CEO of Tesla? I forgot. टेस्ला का सीईओ कौन है यार?
एलन मस्क.
Yes, yes.
So ऐसे क्वेश्चन पूछेंगे तो सचिन जवाब देगा. From the same field. Okay, so Elon Musk, right? He is like expecting people to work 12 hours a day, right? And उसमें भी he's sending emails की how to optimize your time, etc., etc. Right? That is mode of passion completely. He finds great happiness in mode of passion. For someone else, it will be like, क्या ये कौन ऐसा गधे की तरह काम कर रहा है, पागल है ये, right? He might be enjoying working 12 hours. Then there will be people who are super lazy, who are like, यार हमको तो कुछ नहीं करना है यार, सब आके मिले, कोई अगर नहीं करने से कुछ भी नहीं हो रहा है, पैसा भी कम मिल रहा है, चलेगा, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, या चोरी चकारी करके हम वो पैसा कमा लेंगे, या हम किसी को ट्रिक करके कुछ कर लेंगे. That is in mode of ignorance, like that. So people find, and some people, like there are murderers, right, who will enjoy, धीरे धीरे मारो मैं इसको. What is that? That is happiness in mode of gross ignorance. And we know that happiness in mode of passion and ignorance both are abominable. Sometimes maybe not so much in passion, but ignorance तो फिर भी मतलब extremely abominable, right? So इसका ये मतलब नहीं कि अरे मेरे को वो परिस्थिति में मैं फिर भी अपने आप को adjust करके enjoy कर रहा हूँ, नहीं. That's not the case. That the adaptation to the environment or adapting to environment is different versus running after something else. And what you are running after, you need to understand whether it's in mode of goodness, passion, ignorance. What is it? What kind of life you want for yourself? And use your intelligence to identify कि भाई मेरे को चाहिए क्या. और मतलब with your intelligence you can understand. And happiness in mode of goodness is the topmost compared to all the three. And of course there is Shuddha Sattva, there is pure goodness, happiness in Krishna consciousness, right? Which is even above all three of them. So what grade of happiness you are looking for? Is that okay, Himandu Prabhu?
Okay, yes, Prabhu.
Sachin Prabhu, any thoughts, any questions on this? Okay, so we'll move further. Is there nothing? So in this way, there are different degrees of happiness, yet all of them, what is the highest happiness? Sri Krishna tells Arjuna, Sukham atyantikam yat tad buddhi grahayam atindriyam veti yatra na chaivayam sthitas chalati tatvataha. In that joyous state, Samadhi, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness. Realized through transcendental senses, established thus, one never departs from the truth. So, just in the last class, in the previous class, you were discussing the different degrees of happiness, right? ये हमारे planet पे कितना level का happiness है, स्वर्ग में कितना है, उसके ऊपर सारे जो लोग हैं उसमें कितना है, ब्रह्म ज्योति में कितना है, और फिर भगवान की सेवा में कितना happiness है, right? So हमने ये discuss किया था. So if you are in Krishna consciousness, you experience boundless happiness, right? And यहाँ पे somebody who's in the state of samadhi is being described. In that joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness. So much so that all your senses are saturated with happiness. You cannot take it. It is explained that how Dhruv Maharaj, when he saw Lord Vishnu in front of him, all his senses went mad. मतलब एक ग्लास उसको भर दो, फिर ओवरफ्लो होगा ना, और भरते जाओ तो वो सैचुरेशन के भी आगे बांध टूट गया है, राइट? सो हर एक सेंसेस इंडिविजुअली सबका बांध टूट गया कि भगवान का ब्यूटी ऐसा है, भगवान का स्मेल ऐसा है, भगवान का टच वैसा है, राइट? हिज टेस्ट ऑफ is like that, etc. So he was experiencing Lord Vishnu in front of him through all his senses, and all the senses were overwhelmed. right? इतना तो कभी सोचा भी नहीं था, capacity से ऊपर happiness, right? वैसा happiness is described when Dhruv Maharaj actually saw Lord Vishnu, boundless, right? And here somebody in state of samadhi is also being described like that. And once you taste that, फिर बाकी सब ऐसा लगेगा क्या है ये तो कचरा है, right? So buddhi means intelligence. One has to be intelligent if he wants to enjoy. Animals do not have really developed intelligence and so cannot enjoy life as human beings can. The hand, the nose, the eyes, the other sense organs, and all the bodily parts may be present on a dead man, but he cannot enjoy. Why not? The enjoying energy, the spiritual spark has left, and therefore the body has no power. If one looks further into the matter with little intelligence, he can understand that it was not the body that was enjoying at all, but the small spiritual spark that was within. So, which means that the soul is actually the one who's enjoying or distress, etc. The body is the medium through which it was trying to enjoy in the material world. That spark always had the potency of enjoyment, but it is not always manifest due to being covered by the material tabernacles. Tabernacles means material net, right? Although we may not be aware of it, it is not possible for the body to experience enjoyment without the presence of this spiritual spark. If a man is offered the dead body of a beautiful woman, he will not accept it. No, because the spiritual spark has moved out of the body. Not only was it enjoying within the body, but it was maintaining the body. When that spark leaves the body simply deteriorates, right? So everything that we do is because of the presence of the soul. We enjoy because of the presence of the soul, because we have the soul, right? And it is only through spiritual enjoyment we can really enjoy, actually. Material enjoyment is very, very temporary and flickering. Any thoughts on this one, what you just read? Anyone? Should we move ahead? Say a yes or a no, so that I know you guys are not sleeping.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. So, Sachin Prabhu, would you like to read further from here? If you are, I heard you in like last time we heard you, it was not so noisy. If you want to read.
I'm audible for you.
चलेगा प्रभु, इतना कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. We can hear you.
From it follows, right?
Yeah, it follows.
It follows that if the spirit is enjoying, it must have its senses also. Otherwise, how can it enjoy? The Vedas confirm that the spirit soul, although atomic in size, is the actual enjoying essence. It is not possible to measure the sound, but that is not to say that it is without measurement. An object may seem to us to be no bigger than a point and may seem to have no length or width. But when we reside it under a microscope, we can see that it has a both length and width. Similarly, the sound also has its dimensions, but we cannot precise them. When the bar is sweat or race, it is made to fit the body. The spiritual spark must have a form, otherwise how is it the material body has come to accommodate it? The conclusion is that the spiritual spark is not impersonal, it is an actual person. God is an actual person, and the spiritual spark, being a fragmental part of him, is also a person. But the Father has personality and individuality. The Son also has them. And if the Son has them, we can conclude that the Father has them. So, how can we, as sons of God, assert our personality and individuality, and at the same time deny them to our Father, the Supreme Lord?
Yes. So, such a beautiful paragraph, actually, if you see this. Prabhupada is making several very, very interesting points, right? So I think let's start with the last point where he's saying that you have a personality. So how is it that the Father will not have a personality, right? Krishna is the Supreme Father, God is the Supreme Father, right? So if you are an individual, you have a personality, and you're denying that, oh, my father did not have a personality, it is not a individual, he is some light, right? How is that possible? So even logically we can understand, that Krishna has a form, or the Lord, Supreme Lord, has to have a form, right? And then before that, he was describing how the soul itself should have its own senses also, right? Because it's the soul who's actually enjoying. The body is with these material senses, but actually these are like sitting place for the real senses of the soul, right? The seeing power is actually part of the soul, but it let me give you an example. Just like, say for example, telescope now, or microscope. Now the power of seeing is there in the eye, right? But we cannot see microorganisms, so it needs the medium of the object called microscope to actually see the microorganisms. Similarly, the power to see, or the sense of seeing, is there present in the soul. It is requiring a medium through which it can see, which is the physical eye, like that. So the soul also has its own senses, and although it may be very, very small, but there is a size of the soul. Anyone knows what is the size of soul?
Yes, it has been explained in Bhagavad-gītā. I forgot in some chapter. It is the here 1,000 proportion of the is a head of the hair.
Yes, it is 1/10,000.
10,000.
1/10,000 part of the tip of the hair, not the hair, the tip of the hair. Tip कितना छोटा होता है, उसको आप 10,000 टुकड़े कर दो, उसमें एक टुकड़ा, that is the size of the soul, right? So although it may be atomic in size, but it has a shape. जहाँ पे जैसे प्रॉपर ने एग्जांपल दिया कि हमको लगेगा माइक्रो ऑर्गेनिज्म का कोई शेप नहीं है, बट हम जब ये माइक्रोस्कोप में से देखेंगे हमको दिखेगा कुछ तो शेप है, right? So and we may think it is not possible to measure the soul, but scriptures describe the measurements of the soul, which is 1/10,000 the tip of the hair, right? And जिस तरह से
Correct me. Is it in chapter 8?
Prabhupada mentions this in several purports actually. In the second chapter also, maybe in the 8th chapter also he might mention. But in the second chapter for sure, in I think the 4th and the 5th, and even the 6th chapter in one of the purports he mentions. So बहुत सारी जगहों पे Prabhupada ने ये repeat किया है.
Okay, Prabhu.
कथा उपनिषद में से श्लोक कोट किया है. Then there are some other Upanishads also where he's quoted, बालाग्र शतभागस्य, ऐसा करके कि if you take one hair, break the tip into 100 parts, take one part of the 100 part and break it down again into 100 parts. That is the size. That is the shloka from Katha Upanishad. That is the size of the soul, like that. So the purpose he is describing there. So then he is describing how it's not that the soul doesn't have a shape, it has a definite shape. And then he gives the example, just like when we wear clothes as per our body shape, right? And the clothes, they are made to fit the body. Similarly, the soul also has a shape. And what is the shape of the soul? What do you think is the shape of the soul?
Our body?
Yes, it is just like our body, right? But very, very tiny. So it takes up the shape of the shape of the soul is just like our body, but it's very small. And the body is made to fit this shape of the soul, like that. So conclusion is the spiritual spark is also not impersonal. It's not having no form, etc. The spiritual spark also has a form. Of course, we've taken up the material form as well, right? So yeah, so I think some very nice examples Prabhupada gives. Okay, Himandu Prabhu, you can read further. Atindriyam.
Atindriyam means that we have to transcend these material senses before we can appreciate real happiness.
Valante ante satyananda chidatmani.
The yogis who are aspiring after spiritual life are also tasting enjoyment by focusing on the super soul within. If there is no pleasure, if there is no enjoyment, then what is the point of going to so much trouble to control these senses? What kind of pleasure are the yogis releasing if they are taking so much trouble? The pleasure is ananta, endless. How is this? The spirit soul is eternal and the Supreme Lord is eternal. Therefore, reciprocation of their loving exchanges is eternal. One who is actually intelligent will refrain from the flickering sensual enjoyment of this material body and fix his enjoyment in spiritual life. His participation in spiritual life with the Supreme Lord is called Ras Lila.
So we are all looking for pleasure. We are all looking for enjoyment. That's a fact. We cannot be, doubting कि अरे हमको तो enjoy नहीं करना है. नहीं. We are all looking for happiness, right? But here the Lord is saying one who's intelligent, who's yogi, is actually aspiring after spiritual life because he wants to taste the spiritual enjoyment, right? Like I just described Dhruv Maharaj's case. All his senses went mad, right? They were like overwhelmed with so much pleasure, so much, happiness. Couldn't take. He was fainting again and again because the senses couldn't handle itna enjoyment, itna pleasure like that. So pleasure is ananta, endless, when it's in relation to Krishna. And how what in kind of enjoyment we enjoy with him? It is the relationship, the exchanges, loving exchanges between us and the Lord. So that relationship is what gives the pleasure to the individual soul. And therefore, one who's intelligent, he actually refrains from the material sensual enjoyment because that's like an impediment for his spiritual life, right? It's like the child has to avoid the garbage can so that he can every day eat at a feast given by the person who offered him. अगर वो बंदा देखेगा कि अरे ये तो फिर भी गार्बेज कैन में खा रहा है, मैं तो उसको यहाँ पे 56 बुक दे रहा हूँ रोज, फिर भी उधर जा रहा है, तो देना बंद कर देगा. बोले ठीक है, उसको वही खाना है तो क्या करने का. Like that. Okay, you can read the next one also, Prabhu. Mandu Prabhu.
One second. One second.
एक से है ना, मैं भी थोड़ा ऊपर नीचे हो गया. Hold on. हाँ, we often heard, yeah.
We have often heard of Krishna's Ras Leela with the cowhead girls in Vrindavan. This is not like ordinary exchanges that takes place between these material bodies. Rather, it is an exchange of feeling through spiritual bodies. One has to be somewhat intelligent to understand this. For a foolish man who cannot understand what real happiness is, seek happiness in this material world. In India, there is the story of a man who did not know what sugar cane was and was told that it was very sweet to chew. Oh, what does it look like? He asked. So it looked just like a bamboo rod. Someone said. So the foolish man began to chew all kind of bamboo rods. How can he begin to experience the sweetness of sugar cane? Similarly, we are trying to get happiness and pleasure, but we are trying for them by chewing these material body. Therefore, there is no happiness and no pleasure. For the time being, there may be some little feeling of pleasure, but this is not actual pleasure. For it is temporary. It is like a show of lighting, which we may see flashing in the sky. That may be momentarily seems like lighting, but the real lighting is beyond that. Because a person does not really know what happiness is, he deviates from real happiness.
So such a wonderful example Prabhupada gives, the story of a person who started chewing bamboo rod. Right? It's funny because he did not know what sugarcane is. Okay, I'll read this last. Actually, thoda lamba hai, so I'll read this and we'll end it. Maybe it's already 1:30. The process of establishing oneself in real happiness is this process of Krishna consciousness. By Krishna consciousness, we can gradually develop our real intelligence and naturally enjoy relishing spiritual happiness as we make spiritual progress. As we begin to relish spiritual happiness, we proportionately abandon material happiness. as we make progress in understanding the absolute truth, we naturally become detached from false happiness. If somehow or other one is promoted to this stage of Krishna consciousness, what is the result? Yam labdhva chaparam labham manyate nadikam tatha yasmin sto na dukkhena guru napi vichalayet. Upon gaining this, he thinks that there is no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken, even in the midst of greatest difficulty. So we'll stop here today, right? And just to kind of touch upon what was read now, right? So if you taste once, if you actually develop the higher taste of Krishna consciousness, you, no matter what, nothing can shake you. Even the greatest difficulty cannot shake you, because you are firmly established in Krishna consciousness. You're firmly established because you've experienced Prataksha Bhagamam Dharmyam. You've actually had the first-hand experience of Krishna consciousness like that. So, but this is a gradual process. We can gradually develop our taste more and more, but we need to keep pushing hard. Not that it's an automatic process कि भाई वो होता है ना कि सब अपने आप हो जाएगा. नहीं, we have to take some efforts and take some efforts step by step under guidance, so that we progress nicely. It's like अगर आप रास्ते में जा रहे हैं, आपको बहुत सारे गड्ढे हैं, right? So you can sit and cry about those potholes, or you can think अरे इतने pothole है मैं कैसे जाऊं, and उसमें पानी भी भरा हुआ है, right? So life is like that. It's like a road filled with these potholes, and some ditches are filled with water and all of that, dirty water, etc. So to go through that, your legs get dirty and this and that, and it's raining also. Say some days it's raining, so it may be very distressful. जैसा हुआ था ना बॉम्बे में कुछ साल पहले बहुत ज्यादा बारिश आ गई थी, पूरा पानी भर गया था, etc. So I remember I had to walk down almost from town side, towards Santa Cruz. So it was very, very difficult. But Krishna consciousness is like that, nice chariot, right? With big tires. So even in the floods, it won't flood. And it has nice shock absorbers. So even there are ditches, there are shock absorbers. You can sit peacefully in the car and just go, right? Go through that road. So that is Krishna consciousness, where the Lord is personally protecting, He is reciprocating, and you're experiencing spiritual happiness, because of which the externals, they do not affect you so much like that. And once you develop more and more taste, right, you come to a point where you think there is no other greater gain than this, and you're never shaken from that position. So we'll stop here. Sachin Prabhu, Himandu Prabhu, any questions, any reflections?
Actually, we all talk about the internal happiness. Like externally happiness we can't achieve, because there is no limit. Whatever we do, okay, even whether it is a monetary term or is it in term of some external things, it has its own limitations. At once it looks nice, at twice it looks okay, but then it becomes basic need. Priority. So a person who is not feeling happy internally cannot feel happy and be motivated.
Right. Yeah, very, very valid point. If you're not internally happy, no matter what you do externally, the internal satisfaction is not there, kya kar sakte hain, right? You will be miserable in the midst of the fanciest looking, external arrangements like that. And
Prabhuji,
actually, sorry, boliye.
Sorry, boliye.
So material happiness is such that, when we are experiencing it, when we are trying to experience, every single time you think, yeah, this will give me happiness. Every single time you do something, the pleasure is going down and down and down, because with each experience you are getting, ye to kiya hua hai, theek hai, this is old. So the expectation is increasing on one side, this will give me more pleasure, and experience is, lesser pleasure. Right? The more you do, the lesser it kind of pleasure it gives you, and the expectation is still growing more and more. So if you have like a mountain of expectation and what you get is a grain of rice, itna sa pleasure, what will happen? You'll be frustrated, right? That's the very reason you see so many famous personalities, in past and even today, they have to go through rehabilitation centers. Why? The film stars, Hollywood actors, right? सब कुछ है उनके पास, जो चाहिए वो है. They can buy anything. They have to go through rehabilitation center. Most of them have gone through rehabilitation centers, right? Why? क्या ऐसा दुख था उनको? जो चाहिए था ले सकते थे. Why? Because their expectation was so big. Here I have so much. I'll do everything possible. So expectation is really great, but the pleasure they are getting is reducing every time. And there is frustration. Here I'm doing everything. I have everything. What people aspire for. Still I'm unhappy. And they cannot even speak out. किसी को दिखा दिया कि अरे मैं दुखी हूं तो ऐसा न्यूज में आ जाएगा. So they are actually in a very miserable condition, right? If you feel unhappy, you can still go to a park, in fresh air, breathe some fresh air. They cannot even go step out without, the paparazzi following them. So they cannot live in peace. It's that bad. Any other thoughts, Sachin Prabhu, or you want to go?
I ask, Prabhuji,
Yes.
how you see this yoga or meditation? Because it also helps in terms of keeping mind calm and internally feeling happy and satisfied actually.
So, if you are able to do physical yoga, for example, real yoga means yujjate iti yoga, to connect to Krishna, to connect to God, right? Yujja means union. So union between the soul and the super soul, not in terms of merging, but in terms of coming together and the soul serving the super soul like that, or we serving Krishna essentially. So that's the union in intention or thought like that. So we are in sync essentially. So that is the real union. That is the real yoga, when we are connecting to God. If you just talk about physical yoga, pranayam, etc., yes, it may help you calm down your mind for some time. It may help you, stay physically fit, etc., etc. But then, yeah, if you do these things nicely, you're a good animal, right? If you, cultivate knowledge, very sharp in your skills at work, etc., you're a good craftsman, right? If you are very good with emotions, etc., building relationships, connecting to people, etc., then yeah, you are good on an emotional level, right? What completes a human being is to also be good on the spiritual side, which we typically miss, right? Sometimes we even miss the emotional side. Right? You're a good friend or a good family member, fine, but the spiritual side is actually what is the purpose of life. So if you miss that, and you're expert in all three, you're still not a human being. Human being means you have to question, why am I here? Why am I existing? What is my relationship to God? Right? Who am I? These are the questions which a human being asks, right? Why am I doing the same thing again and again? Getting up, eating, sleeping, going to work, passing some urine and stool, coming at night, sleeping, right? Trying to enjoy something here and there, but doing the same stuff every day. So, what is the meaning of life? These are questions that come to a human being, right? Then you're called a human being. Otherwise, you are Dvipada Pashu, two-legged animal. Is that okay, Manu Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Okay, so we'll stop here. It's already 1:41. So thank you very much. And I'll also send out the recording for this, so that I think Ruchit Prabhu is able to kind of hear as well. Okay, thank you so much, Hare Krishna. And Sachin Prabhu, you can also hear the beginning portion, which is very important on why we are doing this session. So maybe even if you just hear the few first 15-20 minutes, I think it's pretty important. Okay, so hear that, and then we will come and probably come and meet together next Saturday, maybe in the temple, or if you guys want to come over to my place, that's also an option. Okay, thank you so much. Hare Krishna.